We on the streets in the war zones, pushing this truth until we get called home. I got brothers I can fall on. Any situation, brothers I can call on. All we gotta do is log on. Send a chain message, seeing if the God's home. Our brother need help now. No matter what it is, we deny self now. Nobody getting let down. For the most high, we gotta put our best down. Man, I love this brotherhood. On the road again, hitting up another hood. Up north, down south, Midwest, it don't matter, we gon' bring it out. Scriptures keep ringing out. We gon' speak it, we gon' rap it, even sing it out. Camp shirts blinging out. We gon' shine with these laws, what you be about?
Alright, shalom y'all, Most High in Christ bless. Sorry for the delay. We've been trying to go live for a minute. Technical difficulties. All praise to the Most High, we got it to work. We are live on the Apocalypse Acceleration page. Thank y'all for hanging in. I shared it on my page also, so I know there's a bit of a lag, so you might be able to catch it from there if you can't see it on the Apocalypse Acceleration page. But thank y'all for being on, the patience. Tonight's topic is called For Thy Name's Sake. As you guys are continuing to witness, I know I seen earlier they were talking about America is making its way to being ground zero for the virus. It's Most High making his rounds, and it's important to pay attention to it, because now it's like, it's interesting how this, because you could tell the Most High is tagging the nations. It shouldn't, stuff like this though worldwide should not make is kind of like bittersweet in a sense, and sometimes it can be that, and you don't realize it's like that until, God forbid, you get hit. It's always a self-examination thing. Everything that we going through constantly, like I said, the stuff that you're seeing on the earth right now, this is a time when you kind of really want to look at yourself in the mirror. A lot of Israel is very happy, of course, because these things are written and told about. So when you see them, they come to pass, you feel some type of confidence about it. But real quick. No, that's fine. I shared it on mine either way. So it's live on Bethel's page also. But no, you good. But either way, it's live on his page. It's live on mine. I think, Nabs, you shared yours too?
Yeah, I shared it.
So you should be able to catch it on one of ours. Let's go to Sirach 34 real quick. Sirach 34, just read verse 1.
Shalom. The book of Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 34 and verse 1. The hopes of a man void of understanding are vain and false, and dreams lift up fools.
And dreams lift up fools. So a person, even though we seeing these things today, a person that has, we all have hope, because the scriptures tell you hope deferred, it kind of makes the heart sick. So we're supposed to be able to have it, but it's got to be some kind of clarity behind it. Everybody doesn't have understanding. Everybody has a Bible. Everybody don't believe it. And what we was talking about earlier, as we've been reading, a lot of scriptures we've gone through in preparation for things like this to come, they're in action now. And it's different because the Lord shows you, through events and signs and things like that. So everybody can read these things and say they believe. Everybody can say that on some level or another. When we're reading this, you're reading these things, they're interesting, they're your forefathers, your foremothers. You believe without a shadow of a doubt, but there's a reason why when the pressure starts getting applied, you have people like the chief apostle Peter, you had Paul, you had a lot of different people where the Lord was talking about, your faith is weak. It's weak. Even though they were walking beside the Son of God, their faith was weak. Christ had to show them this over and over again. So we can all say that, that we believe. And it's not doubting folks that they do. It's just a different type of belief has to be applied once you're in the midst of the fire. Stuff starts getting heavy. Stuff starts breaking apart. Then you start to really understand, okay, this was the definition of belief, not the other one I thought before I got in the midst of this. And we need that now more than ever. Beginning of sorrows, and you see it coming to pass in front of your face. So let's go to Judith chapter 8. Judith 8, start at verse 12.
The book of Judith, chapter 8 and verse 12. And now, who are ye that have tempted God this day, and stand instead of God among the children of men?
Who are ye that have tempted God this day, and stand instead of God among the children of men? Go ahead.
Verse 13. And now ye and now try the Lord Almighty, but ye shall never know anything.
So the scriptures tell you to try the Lord Almighty. You're not going to know anything. So as time goes on, everybody speaks a certain type of way. Everybody's, like I said, believes that they have a heavy amount of faith in the scriptures and what's coming to pass and the things that the Lord has put on the earth. Everybody says that. Everybody believes that they have some type of knowledge. Everybody believes they have some form of righteousness. But like I said, when the Lord starts to manifest himself among us, different things start to change. It's the same thing with when you read in Matthew 1 about Christ, about Emmanuel. They should call him Emmanuel, God amongst us. People's mind frame started to shift when the Lord was in the flesh and walking around folks. The Lord said, you're going to start discerning hearts when the Lord is walking around, because Christ does this weird thing where he forces you to look at yourself. It's impossible to get around it. You can be ignorant of it or try to be, and then you can die in that ignorance. But you have to have some type of perspective on the things that you're seeing. All of us are just, cogs in the wheel of creation. Everybody has some type of, they speak a lot of different things where they claim it's, confidence and everybody looks good on the outside. But as we're going to read on, you can understand the makeup of man is completely different from the makeup of the Most High. Meaning, the Lord doesn't have anything where he's fearing. The Lord's not lacking faith. It doesn't work with him. This is his system. So everything that he's working, he's put in place for us to be able to understand and get us out of these times. Don't freak out when these things happen. But it's still, you can't get around the fact that you have to have a mindset to constantly look in the mirror, to constantly check. Read the next verse.
Verse 14. For ye cannot find the depth of the heart of man, neither can ye perceive the things that he thinketh. Then how can ye search out God that hath made all these things, and know and know his mind, or comprehend his purpose? Nay, my brethren, provoke not the Lord or God to anger.
Provoke not the Lord our God to anger. And there's a reason why that's put there. That us being, like I said, pieces of creation, we have to be able to understand how to stay in your lane. This is something that the Lord is doing. It's a self-check system to where we make sure that we're not getting above our pay grade, so to speak. You can be, the best creature from the dust that you can be, but never get out of that position of understanding where you come from. You're a simple person that the Most High made, and you have to play your role. You can't get too high. You can't get too low. Both of them can destroy you. But the Most High set this thing in place for everybody to kind of look and be like, okay, I'm going to see if when these things are happening, people start to get tagged. And even if, this thing that's going forth on the earth, this virus, let's say you do, because your mind starts to do weird things. Like the scriptures tell your mind will want to think all kinds of different things. Muses on many different things. You can have a situation where your throat starts to get itchy, and then your faith starts to come into play. You can have a situation where, you wake up one morning, you're short of breath. Your faith starts to come into play. your mind can start breaking apart. That's not necessarily the point. At the end of the day, we know the Most High causes everything, and He can heal you from it. So it could be a situation where you're supposed to be able to, Most High is putting that pressure on you to reevaluate your situation. What you claim that you believe, the Lord's like, I'm going to put pressure on you to either change for the better or you crumble. A lot of us have to be able to make sure that we're looking at ourselves in the midst of this things going on, and don't get too high, don't get too low. Don't get too proud to the position of I'm Israel, I'm good. Don't do that. Don't get too low and be like, oh, chaos, everything, the Lord's not going to save me now. Don't think like that either. You got to find that balance in the middle, and that's what the scripture is supposed to be for. But read on.
Verse 15. For if he will not help us within these 5 days, he hath power to defend us when he will, even every day, or to destroy us before our enemies.
So you had this situation with King Holofernes, and Israel made told, when you read about in Judith, he told Ozias that, listen, your faith is in the Most High. They were saying, well, if we put these 5 days forth, if the Lord don't step in and help us, then we need you to turn the city over to Holofernes. It's better to serve him than to be out here starving and being in the midst of because you read about their strategic measurements were set up in place to surround the mountain, the city that they were in, to not let water in and let water out. And then you had people falling out, and their will started to get broken under that. When they couldn't have different things that sustain you, their faith started failing. And they put the Lord on a time clock. If you can't fix us in 5 days, just give the city up. Don't let us go through this, right? That's pride in itself. The Most High don't work for us. I mean, we don't work, we work for the Most High. The Most High don't work for us. So you have to have that mindset. Stay in your lane. Don't do like that. Don't put this system or this, try to put the Lord inside of a box and try to decipher him. It's not going to work. Read on.
Verse 16, do not bind the counsels of the Lord our God, for God is not a man as man, that he may be threatened. Neither is he as the son of man, that he should be wavering.
Go ahead.
Verse 17, therefore let us wait for the salvation of him, and call upon him to help us, and he will hear our voice if it please him.
He will hear our voice if it please him. This should show you the exact same thing. We all know that the Most High has got a plan for everything. The Lord can step in whenever he wants to. It's his system. It's on his clock. We can't look at our watch and be like, it's time to be delivered. You can't say that, because everybody that has that type of, that's a form of pride. You can say that all day. You don't know if you're going to be picked up. Everybody, you have those mindsets where I hope the Lord, I hope the Lord come back tomorrow. I'm trying to get out of here. Stop paying these taxes and things. Who said that you're going to be on the chariot getting picked up? Who said that? Where's your list for your name on that roll sheet? You can't, we don't have something like that. So the Lord can step in when he wants. He can hear our voice if it please him. That should help us to understand something even in the times right now. Right? The same thing that they were battling right then, wanting deliverance, the same thing that we're doing now. Go to Job 39. Job chapter 39, start at verse 9.
The book of Job, chapter 39 and verse 9. Will the unicorn be willing to serve thee, or abide by thy crib?
Will the unicorn willing to serve thee, or abide by thy crib? Go ahead. That's a question.
Canst thou bind the unicorn with his band in the furrow, or will he harrow the valleys after thee?
Canst thou bind the unicorn with his band in the furrow, or will he harrow the valleys after thee? We know, like, whenever you look throughout the scriptures, from Genesis to Revelation, people that don't understand the Bible, they tend to get confused on a lot of different things that the Lord is. It should be something kind of simple to us, because the Lord constantly paints this picture for us to better understand. He draws these things out for us to have some type of better understanding, and he uses examples that we grow up with every day to help us to highlight those situations. You see it constantly throughout the Bible, the Lord giving parables, the reference to men being trees, fruit's supposed to go off those trees. If the tree doesn't have any fruit, it's no good. You cut it down and cast it to the fire. All these different things the Lord's trying to show us. And in this, when you read this chapter, it shows you the far-reaching wisdom and the power of the Lord. This is breaking down how animals work. And people look at it like these, simplistic things. We should understand these things because our people can't, their minds don't wrap around the simple genius of what the Lord has put on the earth in every direction that you look, especially with animals. Nobody thinks about why bees are so interested to make honey. Why they always picking up pollen all the time? Why are they doing these things? The Lord has a system in place for these things to work. Our people don't really pay attention to stuff like that. The Lord's simply asking the question, because we're above animals, we're above beasts. The Lord gave us wisdom, but we can't force the ecosystem of animals to just change. We can't just all of a sudden make them to give them a different direction to do something else, unless you pull them out of that environment. The Lord has set these things in place, and everybody works what they're supposed to work. That's how the Most High set this up. But as the Lord is using animals to highlight these things, you can ask the simple question, can we take creation and make it work for us? Like, can you take the things that the Lord has put on the earth and turn around and work for us? Because it kind of shows you two different things. On one hand, it shows you how ridiculous pride is for our mindsets to try to get so high to think that we can say a lot of things that come out of people's mouths. And on the other hand, it kind of shows you our lack of, I wouldn't say lack of purpose, but how minuscule we are in the big picture of God's plan. It's great on a high level of Israel, but the Lord don't need us for anything. We can't never get to that position to think that. The Lord can do whatever he wants. He can take whoever he wants out and put another person in. He don't have to do that. But the Lord, as we're going to continue to read, he has this vested interest in us. And all praise to the Most High for that. No other nation can say that. But we can't get to the point where we can think like that. Creation is supposed to work for us. You look at Adam, the way Adam was, creation, it was a curse for Adam to have to work, till the ground for things to come about for him to sustain himself. There was a life and time when the opposite was in effect. Everything else is out of course now. We have to work to sustain us. We have to do all these things for things to grow. Back then it wasn't like that. But the Lord's asking the question. It's showing you that far-reaching wisdom that he has. He does all these things just by saying it, and everything follow his command. We can't now get so prideful to think that when the Lord is asking you these questions, can you make these animals do these things? If you tell it to stay somewhere or for it to work for you, can you just tell it and it goes to do it? The Lord's making water work for him. All these different things work the way it was because the Most High says so. But we always have to understand that position and understand the things that we see. Seeing for a lot of folks is not believing, unfortunately. Read the next verse, verse 11. Did you add something?
Yeah. Go to Psalm 8. Verse 3 through 6.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 8 and verse 3. Mm-hmm. When I consider thy heavens, the work of thy fingers, the moon and the stars which thou hast ordained. Mm-hmm. What is man that thou art mindful of him, and the son of man that thou visitest him?
Right, so just like Minister Ezra was saying, who are you that the Most High even mindful of you? How important are you that the Son of Man even visit the earth? Like, you had to put that in perspective. Like, you don't know how the moon works, or well, should I say how it was created. You don't know how the sun was created. You don't understand none of this stuff, but you got enough pride on you to say, I'm the top dog or whatever the case may be. You got enough pride. You got enough pride on you to say that right, like God you gonna listen to me. You know what I mean? Like you put yourself second in demand to Christ. It's sad because the worse things get, we should come together, not in the sense of doctrine wise, because we know the Lord gonna come back and iron all that out. But in the sense of understanding that, hey, we got to put the best look forward for Israel. You know what I mean? Like it'd be a lot of bull crap that go on between organizations and stuff like that. And sometimes, man, you got to put that mirror up in front of your face, like, man, if the Lord was standing behind me or on the side of me, would I be doing the stuff that I'm doing?
That's a whole different argument.
Would I be saying the stuff that I'm saying? Would I be speaking evil or evil surmising on the people the way I'm doing? Verse 5.
Verse 5. For thou hast made him a little lower than the angels, and hast crowned him with glory and honor.
Mm-hmm.
Thou madest him to have dominion over the works of thy hands. Thou hast put all things under his feet.
Right, so the best thing you can do, man, is get in line. The best thing you can do is, like 1 Corinthians 14, and what does it, 49 say? Let all things be done in decency and order. Get yourself together and get in order. That's the best thing you can hope for.
And go right back to Job 39, and that's why I said it's scary, because the closer we get, because like you read back in when Christ was on the earth when he started his ministry, he said, "Preach to them the kingdom of heaven is at hand." That was thousands of years ago. 39, we have verse 11 now.
Mm-hmm.
That was thousands of years ago. And we're still pushing the same message all the way up till today.
Mm-hmm.
But now the Lord is now starting to shift different things and show you, well, I haven't been dormant. I haven't forgot these things. I'm now going to start showing you the power that I have on a very low level to him, but it's magnified. It then ripples through the earth. Most High ain't done nothing. He just raised his finger a little bit, and everything is falling apart. And it shows you it's the same type of you shouldn't be so have that type of mindset to be so secure in yourself. I know I'm so lined up with the Lord that none of these things are going to happen to me. All this self-examination that we're doing, rolling right up to Passover, it's a very hard statement to say that you're on the same conversation with Christ. That's very difficult to do. Even though we're kind of striving, we're falling short constantly. But all praise to the Most High, He's given us that mercy. Because if we had to live like Christ, like straight like Christ when he was born to the way when he was crucified to be taken away, if we had to live sinless completely, man, we're not making it. We're not making it. So you have a form of mercy that the Most High is trying to show you, but you got to understand mercy's not supposed to be mixed with pride. You can't. Those are the biggest problems that the earth has, especially in Christianity. You see it all the time. We got mercy so we can do whatever we want. A lot of brothers and sisters in the truth. We got mercy so we can say whatever we want. Not doing self-examination. That's why it tells you the righteous scarcely going to be saved, right? Read verse 11.
The book of Job, chapter 39 and verse 11. Wilt thou trust him because his strength is great? Or would thou leave thy labor to him?
Can you do that to an animal? Can you tell him to do that? Go in the field and harrow this field. You cultivate this land. You just go tell him that, and he goes and does it. And he goes and does it. We can't do that, but the Lord does. Right? Now watch this. Next verse.
Verse 12. Wilt thou believe him that he will bring home thy seed and gather it unto thy barn?
So, wilt thou believe him that he will bring home thy seed and gather it into thy barn? And just the wisdom of the Lord is always twofold. So you see, like, you use this verse to refer to Israel. Do people believe that the things that are happening is working its way to our people getting delivered? The Lord's going to take his seed and he's going to bring it back home. It's going to be in his rightful position. It's what the Lord is doing now. The effects and the signs that he's showing. But our people have to be mindful of that judgment that's going out. You have to be mindful of it. How many people can say that they're fully clear of leaven? How many people can say that? I don't care if we're working our way up to Passover or not. How many people still got a little bit of leaven after the Feast of Unleavened Bread's over? It's not impossible to do because the Lord has given us that power. But it's You got a little crack in the door to be able to get through that thing to call yourself righteous. Even though it's open, Christ put up a way for us to make it back to the Father. But that self-examination has to be thorough. Very thorough. Because a lot of us are falling short of that. Well, do you believe that the Lord is taking this seed and bringing it back to the barn? That's the question you ask. Because you're seeing these things happen in front of our faces, and a lot of people still don't believe it. Go to Jeremiah 50.
It's the 5G towers.
Yeah, blaming it on cell phone service. It's just, I had a conversation with a cousin of mine last night, and I was kind of, relaying this message to him, and I told him, I'm not here to chew your ear off. I'm giving to you what the truth is. At the end of the day, I know how Israel is. As you've been in this a little while, you understand how your nation is. You get it. The Lord told you from the get-go, this nation rebellious. He said that many times in the scriptures. So don't think that you're going to find some other, you're going to walk out into the street and just find everybody who's like, oh, you know what? That is the truth. It's undeniable. I'm just going to follow it. Nobody does that. They see it's the truth. They turn the other way. That's what happens. But these messages are going out by every vessel that the Lord is using, for nobody can make no excuse in that day. Nobody can say, I didn't hear it. I believed in Islam, all these other things, when no other religion stands up and it falls apart under intense pressure. Some of it's not intense, but pressure nonetheless. It falls apart. The truth don't do that.
And the crazy thing about our people is they'll tell you what you saying is true and still won't follow.
It shows you. That's why I said that self-examination.
I gotta look into it.
Yeah, and then that's just the thing where they just it's like you checking your watch and getting out of the way. Some of us, we don't have the power to change somebody's mindset. That's why you start to get some type of comfort in people being wicked, because you understand this is the way it's set up. You just happy that you on the side to be able to see things. That don't mean that you're completely out of the way from being dealt with. That don't mean nothing. You just happy that you can be able to see that, okay, this is how I'm supposed to keep commandments. I understand that Christ is only for the nation of Israel. I'm glad I can see that. But don't get high-minded and think like the Pharisees did, oh, I'm a child of Abraham, I'm good. A lot of people do that. And therefore they fall short of that self-examination. Jeremiah 50, start at verse 11.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 50 and verse 11. Because ye were glad, because ye rejoiced, O ye destroyers of mine inheritance, because ye are grown fat as the heifer at grass, and bellow as bulls. Verse 12. Your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert.
So because these was, again, it's you reading scriptures is twofold, because you start the little key things that you reading in different scriptures, you'll realize that it's not talking about the previous land. It's talking about the future prophecy of referring to that landmass or that people or whatever it may be that it translated from ancient Babylon to what the scriptures call the daughter of Babylon. You got these things all written through here, but you kind of got to pay attention to what you're reading. But nonetheless, the Lord is giving you clues to show you. This place is happy with tearing down the heritage of the Lord. Keep that in mind, that word heritage, for thy name's sake. Because the Lord he's setting this thing up to everybody's going to pay their price for what they've done. And it's beautiful to witness, but do it with a humble spirit constantly. Verse 12 says, your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. The hindermost means the last. The last of these nations is going to be a wilderness. We know the last one is America. The way this superpower is set up, this is the last one that's being established that everybody is going to witness on a high level how the Most High is just taking this thing apart systematically and embarrassing this place. The place that everybody had up on a high pedestal. The Lord, like he told Pharaoh, I'm going to get my honor from you. It's going to happen. Whether you can't get around it.
Right.
I'm going to use you to honor me. You're going to find out. Right? The hindermost of the nations is going to be a wilderness. Go ahead.
Verse 13. Because of the wrath of the Lord, it shall not be inhabited, but it shall be wholly desolate. Every one that goeth by Babylon shall be astonished, and hiss at her plagues.
And hiss at all her plagues, the plagues that are coming upon this place now. I mean, plagues that you've seen was going on in ancient Babylon. It's talking about now.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Put yourself in array against Babylon round about, all ye that bend the bow. Shoot at her, spare no arrow, for she hath sinned against the Lord.
Right, the Lord gonna get that glory. Them nukes is coming here, whether people believe it or not. The same things that people are claiming. That's why everybody reaching out now, because the Lord's gonna get Israel to see it, whether they believe initially or He gonna get you in this truth by fear. One way or another, the Most High understands His people. He gonna wake up who He need to wake up, and the perfect time it need to be done. This place, same thing with slavery, same thing as people taking us in chains off on boats and everything else. The same way the plagues is prophesied of is happening right now in front of your face. You deny it as much as you want. At the end of the day, it don't matter. The Lord's words are going to come accomplished now. They're not going to be void. The last thing that's going to happen to this place is going to get hit with nukes. Whether people believe it or not, it's coming.
That's if they ain't here already.
They're already designed. The Lord is already using the nations to do that. All these things that they claim that they're so intelligent of and they're making to fight against somebody else, the Lord's going to turn everything on their own head. They're working for Him. Can't get around that.
They need to understand. Iran and China, they got patriots too.
Yeah, I know.
They
And
got
they go hard for their
patriots,
nation. They go hard for their nation. The only that's what the biggest thing about Israel is sometimes the saddest part. Every other nation go hard for their own people. We don't, man.
They got a creed.
We be falling apart. Our people don't want to stand up for nobody in their own nation, but every other nation will do that.
Like Elder say, Ishmael, he go institute Allah Akbar.
Yeah. They ready to die for it, man. They ready to die for it. And it's not a situation where we can say that. A lot of people can't say that. They've done it. Through a fake God, they've done it.
He say Ammon go Ammon, he go admit a kamikaze.
They fully believe in the things that they've been studying. Whatever that is, that false doctrine don't matter. They believe it wholeheartedly. They are sold out. Our people ain't. Read on. Verse 15.
Verse 15. Shout against her round about. She hath given her hand. Her foundations are fallen. Her walls are thrown down.
Her walls are thrown down. Keep that in mind. Her walls are thrown down. Go ahead.
Her walls are thrown down. For it is the vengeance of the Lord. Take vengeance upon her, as she hath done, do unto her.
As she have done, do unto her. Keep that in mind. The walls are tearing down now. Your safety net is starting to diminish. Your walls are torn down. Watch this. Read verse 16.
Verse 16. Cut off the sower from Babylon.
Cut off the sower from Babylon. Go ahead.
And him that handleth the sickle in the time of harvest.
Him that handleth the sickle in the time of harvest. Hold that. Go to Matthew 13.
Goodness gracious. Boy, I was just reading that today, boy.
Cause that's why it's the same thing with the animals. Everything is taking its everything is taking its proper course. But it takes time. Whatever the time is, that's why it's telling them, don't stand up and magnify yourself against the Lord. Don't do prideful like they was doing in Judah. Don't do that. You can't put the Lord on no time clock. Cut off the sower from Babylon and him that handleth the sickle in the time of harvest. Matthew 13. Start at verse 24.
The book of St. Matthew, chapter 13 and verse 24. And another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a man which soweth good seed in the field.
The kingdom of heaven is like a man that sowed good seed in the field. A lot of us have read this parable before. Go ahead.
But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way.
Go ahead.
And when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also.
Everything takes time. Go ahead.
So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then hath it tares? Verse 28. And he said unto them, an enemy hath done this. The servant said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up?
Should we gather them up now? It's the same thing that Ezra was asking Uriel. Why can't you just end this now?
Right.
Just get it over with. Uriel asked him, can a mother hold a child in the womb longer than they're supposed to? No. Don't try to get above your pay grade. Stay where you at. Go ahead.
Verse 29. But he said, Nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. Verse 30. Let both grow together unto the harvest.
Let both grow together until the harvest. Go ahead.
And in the time of harvest, I will say to the reapers, gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles, and burn them. But gather the wheat into my barn.
But gather the wheat into the barn. Get the wicked out. We're going to scramble them first. We're going to see who's not sealed in the forehead. We're going to find out. It take time, though. Remember, cut the sower off in Babylon. Jump down to verse 36.
Gather my seed. Verse 36? Verse 36. Then Jesus sent the multitude away, and went into the house. And his disciples came unto him, saying, Declare unto us the parable of the tares of the field.
Tell us what you mean. That illustrations. They should. The thought process shouldn't even be really there, because we've been around stuff like a person farming. We've been around that stuff all our life. But the Lord is using things to illustrate. I can give you a deeper understanding to these things. The simple things you take for granted in life, there's life lessons behind everything. Go ahead.
The field is the world.
37.
Excuse me, verse 37. And he answered and said unto them, He that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man.
Read that again.
He that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man.
The sower is the Son of Man. Go ahead.
Verse 38. The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one.
Go back to Jeremiah 50. He answered and said unto them, He that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world, the good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked. Jeremiah 50:16 again.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 50 and verse 16. Cut off the sower from Babylon.
Cut the sower off. So you, as what we have, like, this is showing you that as the process of time goes, the sower is the Son of Man. That mercy is diminishing. Day by day, the door is getting closer and closer to being shut. As the Lord is showing us these things, I'm cutting this off. Read on.
And him that handle the sickle in the time of harvest.
So you have this process taking place that those that believe, the harvest, he's starting to understand everything's been growing together, but now these things are really starting to get separated. Even the Lord is putting to the best of his ability, he's showing you all that he can. Listen, the nations are wicked. They eat whatever, they do whatever, they don't care about you. The Lord is putting this on a worldwide scale. Still, our people do not want to change. But the Lord is showing you this mercy in this time is getting smaller and smaller. That window is diminishing to the point where when the door shuts, the nukes is in the sky coming. Nobody can you can't reassess then. The Lord's showing you something on a lower scale. They had the we was talking about earlier about the them calling NYU now. I think it's 21,000 people have dropped dead worldwide now.
They call
it's just raising by the day.
In New York, the epicenter.
The epicenter.
Yeah.
They're calling NYU students in the medical field. They haven't graduated yet. They're calling them out of the school to be able to utilize them to give more help.
Yeah, they basically told them that as of today, you got your diploma.
Yeah, if you come, you got a certain amount of requirements. We're just gonna graduate you early. Come and help. Then you ask. They had who was it? Rachel Maddow on NBC was talking about if he asked a student from NYU that was actually volunteering her, not even her time, her life now, to be around that. And she was like, well, I'm confident that they have PPE, proper gear, for me to not catch this thing. Man, the people in the hospitals dropping dead. They don't have enough equipment to beat this thing as they think.
What's that hospital in New York, Elmhurst?
Elmhurst, yeah, I think so.
So the lady, the Dr. Smith at Elmhurst sent a live video to CBS saying the president and all his flunkies are saying one thing, but she was just like, you know, we don't have enough masks. What is the mask called? An N95 mask or something?
Something like that.
She was
Special
like,
mask. It can't be
yeah.
a normal one.
Yeah, she say the mask, the same mask I got on today, I had on last Friday. She says so many people dying. They had to pull a refrigerated truck, a tractor trailer. They had to pull that up to the hospital and leave it. They left the truck. They left the refrigerated trailer truck there. It's not even the truck hooked up to it. So what that's telling you is that they're expecting a lot of bodies to go inside this refrigerated freezer. And it's so bad in Italy, there's so many people dying in Italy that they have now started putting dead bodies in the ice rink. It's so many people dying.
You can't. There's nothing that people, they claim that they have these cures and we're working on this and let's test this to see if it's out there, it's going to help. Good luck with that. People still, this is what we're reading in Job 39. The Lord has done all these things to these animals. You see the genius of the Lord every day. Right now, still as you're seeing bodies drop left and right. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
11 minutes and started at 4.
No, it's a 14. Yeah, that's it.
The great enemy of writing.
Things that the Lord is doing, and they still will not give the Lord no credit. Even Trump said out of his own mouth, "This isn't of God."
You want to start at that point, 4:31?
That's way past that. I think that's 4 minutes left.
That man said,
go to 4 minutes.
That man said he playing for the churches to be packed on Easter Sunday.
Another girl beside her split screen. You said what?
That man said he playing for the churches to be packed on Easter Sunday.
I'll show you. Right there. Yeah, go to 440. I want y'all to watch this.
Graduated, to instead graduate now and answer the call to service to come help. Joining us now, this is medical students at NYU being asked to stop med school now in their final year, months before they would have graduated, to instead graduate now and answer the call to service to come help. Joining us now is Gabrielle Mayer. She's one of the students at NYU's medical school who has volunteered to graduate early and begin working as a doctor early to help New York hospitals respond to the surge in coronavirus.
Look at this. Simple behind. Now, so you have, where they put the little post up, I think it was in 61, you had Kennedy put up that little post. That's how America works. The little finessing of the words, and people be believing that crap. He talking about, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Now they trying to play that crap. Put your life on the line for the same place now that has dropped gas prices, that are giving people free bills, all these different things they could have been doing for years. They're just showing their hand now. They could have been doing this, but they wanted to charge you every single day, up and down with the gas prices. They can't give you 1 month off on your electricity bill. None of that stuff. They've been playing this game for I don't know how long. Now, since people have died, my brother told me earlier today, I think all Sheetz employees, they've jumped up $3 an hour. For you to put your life on the line to die, now they'll raise your minimum wage. But all before then, America didn't care about you. But now they want to tell you to leave school early to put your life on the line so you might die in the midst of this virus. Go ahead.
Cases. Gabby, it's really good to have you here. Thanks for your time tonight.
My pleasure to be here.
So tell us how this came together. It's my sense that this effort to release fourth-year NYU med school students got underway all pretty quickly. Was it a surprise when it happened?
That it crossed a lot of people's minds. We'd also heard some public tell from both Governor Cuomo's office as well as Mayor de Blasio's office that this was something that they were considering speaking to medical schools about. We heard nothing officially from our own administration until yesterday evening when we received the email that you read aloud on air.
So tell me what goes into a decision about whether or not to say yes to this request for help. What are you weighing? How hard a decision is this? And do you know how many of your fellow students have said yes?
So I do know. The number seems to be right now, it might change, around 69 of somewhere around 120 of us have agreed voluntarily to enter the hospital as acting interns or as interns in a matter of weeks. As far as the decision-making process, I think... Go ahead.
Please go ahead. I'm sorry. No, it's you have the floor.
Okay. As far as the decision-making process, it was both an easy and I think at times a challenging one. I think things that go into it that are more fixed are my skill set. Do I have a skill set that feels useful and helpful in the hospital? I think that at this point I finished all clinical rotations and had a block of free time leading up to graduation. And so I did feel and still feel very confident that I have a skill set that is going to be useful for patient care, acting as an intern on the floor. Other things to consider are the needs of the healthcare system. And I think that's been the biggest motivator. I'm someone who's interested in helping people and helping patients as well as the allied healthcare professionals fighting COVID. And that made this choice a lot more straightforward for me.
Are you worried about the reports that we've already got from all over New York, from rich hospitals and less rich hospitals, from hard-hit hospitals and hospitals that haven't yet got there, that the personal protective equipment for healthcare workers, for doctors and nurses and other people working directly with patients isn't sufficient to protect you guys properly from the patients the infectious patients you're going to be in contact with?
Absolutely. I think I've been on the ground doing some grassroots PPE sourcing efforts alongside medical students across New York City institutions. And so it's certainly been on my mind for the past week or so. I think that hearing the response from the hospital, I know that they are actively sourcing PPE, both for us specifically. It was mentioned in one of their emails to us that this is something they're putting concerted effort towards, is making sure we all have PPE, but also to make sure that they catch up with the increased need in all the hospitals. And they've already instituted several policies to change the usage of PPEs and diminish excess usage. And so, yes, of course, it's a concern, but I also know that there's been a lot of responsiveness from the hospital systems themselves to figure out a way to meet that need. And that's making me more.
So you got 50% of folks coming to the aid to help, so to speak, putting their life on the line. It's 50 something out of 120 or 62 out of 120, she said. These, you're not preventing this. They're just leaving all that time you spent in college. They walking into a death trap, and they talking about, well, I'm so interested in helping people and this and that. The Most High is setting these folks up to walk right into their demise, and this is what I'm. Nowadays, you telling folks is like, those keeping commandments in the faith of Christ are the most safest people on the earth right now. That's not to be, again, high-minded, but it's for you to understand what's going on. The way this system is set up and the way the Most High is breaking this thing apart financially, physically, the Most High, like I said earlier, has just touched this place, and now everything from corner to corner, the Dow Jones, all these different things, and they're trying to put these stimulus packages together to support the airlines and everything else, big business that's losing money. But then the lower level people, they've shown you that they can diminish your bills or take it away for a few months, but they don't care to do that until you on your deathbed. Now you got people signing. I'm sure they got some jakes, and then while you doing that too, not understanding what's going on, not giving no praise to the Most High for him, the one that's causing all this thing, yet and still they'll tell you the Lord is in control of all things. Go to Revelation chapter 8. Start at verse 1.
The book of Revelations, chapter 8 and verse 1. And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. And I saw the seven angels which stood before God.
I saw 7 angels that stood before God. Go ahead.
And to them were given 7 trumpets.
7 angels and 7 trumpets. Go ahead.
And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer. And there was given unto him much incense,
Mm-hmm.
that he should offer it with the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar, which was before the throne.
He shall offer this incense with the prayers of the saints, standing before the Lord, 7 angels, 7 trumpets. Go ahead.
Verse 4, and the smoke of the incense, which came with the prayers of the saints, ascended up before God out of the angel's hand.
These are the it can be a, obviously this can be a for some folks it can be a good to a lesser level a bad thing, but just follow me. Go back to go to Joshua chapter 6. Just keep that in mind. Prayers of the saints that are coming up before the Lord. 7 angels, 7 trumpets. Joshua chapter 6 and 1.
The book of Joshua, chapter 6 and verse 1. Now Jericho was straitly shut up because of the children of Israel. None went out and none came in.
Nobody, because of the children of Israel, nobody came out, nobody went in. Go ahead.
Verse 2. And the Lord said unto Joshua, See, I have given into thine hand Jericho, and the king thereof, and the mighty men of valor.
I've given everybody in Jericho to your hands. You looking at the Hamite nations that's in there. I've given everything in there. The king, the mighty men, all of it. I'm handing it over to you. Go ahead.
And ye shall compass the city, all ye men of war, and go round about the city once. Thus shalt thou do 6 days.
Verse 4.
Verse 4. And the 7 priests shall bear before the ark,
before God,
7 trumpets.
7 trumpets.
Of
7
ram's
priests,
horns.
7 trumpets. Go ahead.
Sorry about that. 7 trumpets of ram horns. And the 7th day ye shall compass the city 7 times. And the priests shall blow with the trumpets.
7 angels, 7 priests, 7 trumpets to both of them, right? Standing before the Lord, one sending up prayers as incense coming before the Most High. The other ones are sending off the trumpets to take the city. Read on.
And it shall come to pass that when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, and when ye hear the sound of the trumpet, all the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city shall fall down flat, and the people shall ascend up, every man straight before him.
So we read in Jeremiah 50, remember the walls are now breaking down. Same thing we're reading and taking Jericho. Everybody's been given over to Israel. They locked in there and nobody's coming in or out because they scared to death. They've heard about the things the Lord is doing for Israel. They scared. Nobody wants to leave. Read on.
Verse 6. And Joshua, the son of Nun, called the priests and said unto them, Take up the ark of the covenant, and let 7 priests bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of the Lord. And he said unto the people, Pass on, and compass the city, and let him that is armed pass on before the ark of the Lord.
Let those that are armed to pass on before the ark of the Lord. Go ahead.
And it came to pass, when Joshua had spoken unto the people, that the 7 priests, bearing the 7 trumpets of ram horns, passed on before the Lord, and blew with the trumpets, and the ark of the covenant, and the Lord followed them.
The Lord followed them. Go ahead.
God. Verse 9. And the armed men went before the priests that blew with the trumpets, and the reward came after the ark, the priests going on and blowing with the trumpet.
That's showing you the rear guard of it. Like the way they're setting things up, the same thing in Judah when they had the nations trying to strategically plan and not let water come in and out. It's the same way you see Israel doing this thing to take the city. All it's showing you is complete order. Complete order. It has to be done this way. Because the Lord is the one following him and initiating all these different things. Showing you order. The reward is just them coming around the back. Go ahead.
And Joshua, verse 10, and Joshua had commanded the people, saying, Ye shall not shout no more.
Be quiet. Go ahead.
Any noise with your voice, neither shall any word proceed out of your mouth, until the day I bid you shout. Then shall ye shout.
This, keep in mind this thing that they doing, and keep this on the same level as them sending up prayers before the Lord.
It's quiet in heaven.
Jump to verse 15.
Verse 15. And it came to pass on the 7th day that they rose early about the dawning of the day, and compassed the city after the same manner 7 times. Only on that day they compassed the city 7 times. And it came to pass at the 7th time, when the priest blew the trumpets, Joshua said unto the people, shout, for the Lord hath given you the city.
The Lord has given you the city, right? Jump down to verse 20.
Verse 20. So the people shouted when the priest blew the trumpets. And it came to pass, when the people heard the sound of the trumpet, and the people shouted with a great shout, that the wall fell down flat.
The defenses are gone now. The walls fell down flat. It's the same thing that's happening here. They had an order to walk around this thing 7 times. Just be quiet. Once the 7th day comes, this is your orders. You shout, y'all blow the trumpet, you shout, the wall's taken down now. No more defenses for Jericho. Same thing with Babylon. The wall's being taken down. Read on.
Every man straight before him, and they took the city.
And they took the city. Now, this looks like order. This looks like complete. This has to be done the way the Lord has set this thing up. This is the point, though. Jump over to Joshua 7. Jump next chapter. Just start at verse 2.
The book of Joshua, chapter 7 and verse 2. And Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai, which is beside Bethaven, on the east side of Bethel, and spake unto them, saying, go up and view the country. And the men went up and viewed Ai.
So they went up and viewed this place. Everything's set in motion now. Let's go take this thing. Read on.
And they returned to Joshua and said unto them, let not all the people go up, but let about 2,000 or 3,000 let about 2,000 or 3,000 men go up and smite Ai, and make not all the people to labor thither, for they are but few.
So we only need a handful of folks. We don't need everybody, right? They're going to take this place over. Go ahead.
So there went up thither of the people about 3,000 men, and they fled before the men of Ai. Verse 5. And the men of Ai smote of them about 36 men.
36 men. Go ahead.
And they chased them from before the gate even unto Shebarim, and smote them in the going down. Wherefore the hearts of the people melted and became as water.
So your thought process is what's going on? This don't make no sense. We just had the walls torn down. We followed what the Lord was saying, which all the orders he gave us, we did. So why are people in Israel dying? Go ahead.
And Joshua rent his clothes and fell in the earth upon his face before the ark of the Lord until the eventide, he and the elders of Israel, and put dust upon their heads. And Joshua said, alas, O Lord God, wherefore hast thou at all brought this people over Jordan, to deliver us into the hand of the Amorites, to destroy us? Would to God we been content and dwelt on the other side of Jordan?
Should we have stayed on the other side of Jordan? There's people dying now. Should we have stayed over there? Go ahead.
O Lord, what shall I say when Israel turneth their backs before the enemies?
Read on.
Verse 9. For the Canaanites and all the inhabitants of the land shall hear of it, and shall it environ us round, and cut off our name from the earth. And what wilt thou do unto thy great name?
If they cut us off, what's going to happen to your name? That's what Joshua was asking the Lord. We're the only ones. Real quick, go to Matthew 10 and 22.
The book of St. Matthew, chapter 10 and verse 22. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endureth to the end shall be saved.
This is why I said earlier that the Lord has is a vested interest in us. We're not going to fail because the Lord can't fail. Nonetheless, the Most High saw fit to take his name and put it on us. That makes us the sons of God. Now, we are being hated purely behind the fact that we follow what the Lord's saying. The Lord understands that. He gets it. You guys have now set aside everything that you got your life to worry about. Some of y'all got families, you got children, you got your stupid job, you got taxes, you got all these different things. On top of that, it's easy for you to just have the life and be like, you know what, if I get into this, it's going to be worse for me. My life's going to be even worse than it already is. It just makes sense for me not to do this. Some of us has picked up the mantle to do this work, Nonetheless, the Lord understands that. Since you have my name, everybody's going to hate you because of it. The Lord gets that. Let's go back to Joshua. Verse 9 again.
7 and 9, right?
Mm-hmm.
The book of Joshua. Oh, I'm in Judges. My bad. The book of Joshua, chapter 7 and verse 9. For the Canaanites and all the inhabitants of the land shall hear of it, and shall environ us around, and cut off our name from the earth. And what wilt thou do unto thy great name?
So it's showing you all the power that we have in unity, in sticking together in the order that we have. Read on.
Verse 10. And the Lord said unto Joshua, Get thee up.
Get up.
Wherefore liest thou thus upon thy face?
Why are you lying in your face? Get up. Go ahead.
Israel hath sinned, and they have also transgressed my covenant, which I commanded them. For they have been taken of the accursed thing, and have also stolen, and dissembled also, and they have put it even among their own stuff.
So this show, like, you have the order of Israel and the Most High working for them, taking things down. This is going to show you a point also. Us having the Most High's name carries much power. The reason being is because he's the Father, we're the children. When the children cry out for help, the Father steps in to help. But you got to make sure that the stuff that you crying out about, you have to be assured of what you're doing and understand that since we have the power that the Lord is giving us as his children, these things that's going to come to pass is going to be scary if you're not right. In Joshua 6, we read them looking like complete order. But Joshua 7, when Achan takes this Babylonian garment, it shows you, is order always order? Even if you look at it and it looks like it's perfect, this thing is set up from your eye, you might look at it like this, we are in order. But then when you start to look finer and start really paying attention, there was somebody amongst us that's not keeping order. Everything wasn't set up the way it was supposed to be. Therefore, people are getting killed. This shows you the mindset we're all supposed to have when we're functioning within the nation. You can get somebody else hurt. You see having people dying because somebody wanted to be out of order. It shows you that deeper mind state that you have to really dig deep to look at yourself to see, well, everything that we thought was in place looks good. But with a finer microscope, we found blemishes in here. We found leaven in here.
It go back to love your neighbor as yourself.
Right.
Because if you know that your actions can get your brother killed, why would you do something that it can ultimately end up in a fatality for a brother? Why would you do that? You're supposed to love him as you love yourself. You don't want to die. So why would you be in the midst of sin, but then portray everything like you in order and go out with camp with brothers and just go out and hang out? Anything can happen at the drop of a hat, man. And you standing up yelling Kwam Yasharala, but you got leaven. You got, leaven in you. Whether it be, and it don't always have to be like, it could be something as simple as secret hatred.
Yeah. That's something this is the same reason when we read up in Judith 8 when it says that you can't even figure out what's inside the heart of a man. You standing beside him. You might have grown up with him. You might be in battle with him. He might hate you. We're going out together. The Lord gonna get hitting folks. Nobody's really. The Lord tells you that if you're righteous, you're not gonna get hit. Nobody's supposed to be out there fearing, but you're supposed to have a healthy fear of the Lord. Don't play games and everybody. You can acknowledge and look at somebody else's faults, but then you start to get real blind when it comes to you. It's scary because people outside of that can look at that same person that's completely out of the spirit and be like, look at this craziness. But when you you ask that person, yo, you in madness? All the stuff you saying, you show him the video, the comments he said, whatever, over the years, are you in madness? He can't see it.
No, spiritual.
He can't see it at all. That's scary. But it's everything's a lesson because it also shows us the same thing. And the Lord is doing these things. Joshua inquired of the Lord, if you kill us, what's going to happen to your name? The Lord has that vested interest in us. We his children. Go to Isaiah 48 real quick.
I'm gonna pull something out.
Yeah, if you got some, go ahead.
I'll read 48 first. 48 and
I think it's verse 9. Yeah, start at verse 9.
the book of Isaiah, chapter 48 and verse 9. For my name's sake will I defer mine anger,
For my name's sake, I'll chill my anger down. Go ahead.
and for my praise will I refrain for thee, that I cut thee not off.
Because that's the point. The Lord's for us, or for his name, excuse me, he's gonna die this down and not cut us off. Because he has that interest in us. Read on.
Verse 10. Behold, I have refined thee, but not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction.
And we were saying this earlier. Everything looks good until the Lord puts you in the oven and bros start being like, I'm sweating a little. Can you turn the fire down a little bit? Can you take me out of it a little bit? Nobody, their belief system's on a different level once you're in it and you have to adjust. Go ahead.
Verse 11. For my own sake, even for my own sake, will I do it. For how should my name be polluted? And I will not give my glory unto another.
The Lord's not going to give this to nobody else. So who's in the earth? If it's not for us, if it's not repentant Israel, who's going to be able to push forth the Lord and tell you how great he is? Who's going to say that? Because the Lord tells you that everybody going to hate you because of me. I understand that. So now I'm going to turn my anger down for you to, I'm using you as a vessel to put this motion in place for you to tell the earth how great I am. The power, everything resides on my shoulders. We the ones that's doing that. We're the vessels that do that. So the Lord's not going to cut. If he cuts it, he cuts us off. It's the same thing with him cutting his name off the earth. We know he can do whatever he wants. We know he can give his glory to somebody else. But the Lord said he's not going to do that. So he's using us to do it. What'd you want? What'd you want to pull?
Go to Deuteronomy. 13 and start at verse 11. Because like you were saying, it's an order to everything we supposed to do. Even it's an order and a protocol to even when we go into cities to take it over, there's certain things we supposed to do even within that city. So when Joshua was in Joshua, and it was telling them not to take of these idols and the stuff from these lands that they was overcoming, they were supposed to follow that order because it's in our law.
Right.
And the same thing is going to happen to Babylon. You'll see it's written in the law. Start verse 11.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 13 and verse 11. And all Israel shall hear and fear, and shall do no more any such wickedness as this is among you.
Right, so we, like Minister Ezra was saying, you got a protocol. We supposed to carry ourselves a certain way. He's not going to give his glory to another. You Israel, you supposed to act like Israel. Or you going to die like Israel because you not being an Israelite. You ain't got no choice. You supposed to carry the burden of the Lord. You can't look to nobody else. You supposed to do it. Read on.
Verse 12. If thou shalt hear, say in one of thy cities, which the Lord thy God hath given thee to dwell there, saying, certain men, the children of Belial, are gone out from among you, and have withdrawn the inhabitants of their city, saying, let us go and serve other gods which ye have not known. Then shalt thou inquire, and make search, and ask diligently, and behold, if it be truth, and the thing certain, that such abomination is wrought among you.
Right, so, man, a lot of our people better be lucky we got Christ. Because a lot of stuff all people do today, walk around with unks on their neck and believing in Buddha and all that type of stuff, man, that stuff, man, you wouldn't even have a chance to repent. You'd just be straight stoned to death. No ifs and buts about it. Read on.
Verse 15. Thou shalt surely smite the inhabitants of that city with the edge of the sword, destroying it utterly, and all that is therein, and all the cattle thereof, with the edge of the sword.
Right, so when you even look at Babylon the Great, this was once given to who? Our forefathers. But now it's just been taken over by the Edomites. But it's a certain way. In our law, it tells us a certain thing we're supposed to do. Now this land is full of adultery. It's full of wickedness.
Everywhere.
And this is what the Most High gonna do to this place. This is why it's got to get hit with fire. Read on.
Verse 16. And thou shalt gather all the spoil of it into the midst of the street thereof, and shalt burn with fire the city, and all the spoil thereof every whit. For the Lord thy God and it shall be in heat forever. It shall not be built again.
Man, this place is not going to be built up again once the Most High destroy it.
People don't believe that.
This place is going to burn forever. It's going to be desolate. Just like you was reading in Jeremiah 50. When they went into overtake, when the walls fell and they went to overtake those different cities, they were supposed to not take of those idols.
Idols in a cursed thing.
You hate, brother.
Well, that's what the Lord said. They were supposed to burn this stuff. They weren't supposed to. But Achan, he had to be a wise man. The Lord had to show Joshua. This man took this idol and came back and hid it amongst this stuff. And that's what our people do today. They act like, oh, I'm an Israelite. I'm an Israelite. But in their mind, they be believing on other doctrines. They be believing in they try to merge stuff with the Bible. Now the Lord gonna expose you.
Yeah, why you want a Babylonian garment anyway? It's that the same thing we supposed to have on a righteous garment. You taking on another nation's garment. You still want to be like them. It's the biggest problem with this nation.
I believe in the Bible, but I got this book that show you narcissism in the Bible.
You would think Achan would be stronger because he's around brothers. He watching the things happen.
Right.
The same thing with us now. You seeing these things happen. People not examining themselves. It's not that easy to be saying you got the Spirit of Christ. You in the same realm as Christ. You doing what he's doing. Of course, all of us are striving for that. But Christ is a different breed. Even though we come from that nation, this man walks sinless. We ain't doing that, but you trying. That's why he's instituted his mercy. We trying, but you still have to keep looking at yourself. Everybody got something they got to work on.
Some of us ain't wake up to late 20s. We would have been dead.
Go to Sirach 35. We about done.
What you want, one?
No, start at verse 16. This is the same thing with the priests being in front of the Most High, the angels, 7 of them, offering up the incense with the prayers of the saints. Verse 16.
The book of Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 35 and verse 16. He that serveth the Lord shall be accepted with favor, and his prayer shall reach unto the clouds.
He that serveth the Lord shall be accepted with favor, and his prayer shall reach unto the clouds. You look at the situation that's going on now. Keep this in mind. Go ahead. We do this every Sabbath. Go ahead.
The prayer of the humble pierce the cloud.
The prayers of the humble, it pierces the cloud. Go ahead.
Until it come nigh, he will not be comforted. Excuse me. And will not depart till the Most High shall behold to judge righteously and execute judgment.
So you realize, like, the coronavirus itself, the mass plagues on the earth, I don't know if people really realize that the stuff that's going on now, do you know this stuff is happening? We are bearing that name of the Lord. The Lord's listening to the same prayers we sending up. We ask for this. The plagues that you have on the earth, we ask for these things. Now the Lord is bringing it to fruition. All these things that we want this system to be taken down, we sending up prayers for our enemies to be taken away. Now the Lord's manifesting himself. Now folks are scared.
Right.
The same folks is supposed to be in the truth. That's the mindset. You still have to be able to examine yourself and do these things. We're asking for these things. The Father's listening to the children now. I brought this thing on. This is what you asked for.
It's not gonna happen in your comfort zone.
Right. You've asked for all these things. We can't now turn around and be like, I'm not sure. No. The Lord's putting these things into motion. Since he's putting these things into motion, now more self-examination has to be brought upon us. We have to be mindful of the things that we doing. The people that you around, you can get somebody else hurt. You claiming that you love your neighbor as yourself, like you said, you have to be mindful how you operating.
Because look at even back when the Most High brought us out of Egypt. Out of all those plagues and all that stuff happened, you had still people that was like, let us go back. Like, these people have oppressed you. You under hard bondage. The Most High got to deliver you. So when these plagues and stuff start coming about, that should increase your faith. Not be like, well, Lord, why you got to do it this way?
Right. You're not dictating how this place going to be taken down. The Lord doing this in high fashion. He's doing all this on a high level. Right. On a very high level. The Lord can the Most High could have sent his son in any way he wants. You know what? You come down as peaceful as you can. Don't hurt nobody. Tell the Israelites, you are Israel, come with me. The Lord's like, nah, I'm going to make these people make nukes to blow this place up.
No, I don't
And
work
you're
like
going to
that.
have to go through hellacious fear for you to have that mindset to make us through this thing. That's what the Lord deemed righteous. At the end of the day, that's how he's trying to make his power known. For you to come out of that simple mind state and say these crazy things that come out of your mouth. Just decide to say that I'm in second command. The earth is mine. I'm doing all these things. You should have some type of fear on you when these things are going on, instead of being so settled and be like, look at the virus taking out people. That don't mean you can't get hit. Nobody's perfect out here. What we trying to be, nobody's perfect. But that person in the mirror has to be thoroughly looked at and searched for to make sure you clear of all these different things. 1 Samuel 12, 22.
The book of 1 Samuel, chapter 12 and verse 22. For the Lord will not forsake his people for his great name's sake, because it hath pleased the Lord to make you his people.
For the Lord will not forsake his people for his great name's sake, because it hath pleased the Lord to make you his people. So this is something we all got to keep in mind. It's great that the Lord chose us as the vessels to do this, but a lot of times you see the prophets. Moses did the same thing. Don't kill him, because if you kill him, what's going to happen to your name? The Lord's doing this thing for his name's sake, for this thing to be carried out. He loved our forefathers so much to put this on us. But at the end of the day, the Lord don't need nobody. For his great name's sake, I've chosen you to put forth that message. Tell the world about me. They stop playing these games and saying whatever they want. Stop eating all these things that they want. Stop acting like they're gods on the earth. Don't do that. I put you in a position and put this on your shoulders to carry this forth. You're my people to do that. Put the message forth. If you don't, I'll take you out. If you want to put forth the message in half-heartedness, if you want to act like you're above somebody else, I'll take you out. And all these things have to be brought right back to our memory as you seeing the effects of the Lord working. People still attributing this to 5G network and cell phones and all these other things. People playing these games until the Lord take it to you. You still got people being hit saying that. You got the video I seen of the sister was in the hospital. She a full-on dyke. A full-on bulldog. And saying things like, oh, just nobody's watching me or nobody's trying to care for me and all these other things. Instead of looking at, when I put up the scripture, I think it was yesterday or the day before, about Jeremiah 8, what have I done? What have you done? That's the things that we all kind of had the mindset of. You can't just be like, well, I'm black and I'm proud and I'm good. I'm not going to get hit.
Lord say, what more could he have done to his vineyard, man?
Trying his best to wake you up, but people don't want to take the message. At the end of the day, the Lord going to get his honor. So thank y'all for getting on. You had anything else?
No, I'm good.
Thank y'all for getting on. All praise to the Most High. Y'all keep sending up prayers, and this is not some, all shucks moment that the Lord is doing this before Passover coming. Don't think like that. The Lord could have done this 2 months before dedication hit. We having a restriction on food coming up for Passover. We got a specific thing that we have to do. Nonetheless, in the midst of the chaos, we still got to keep it. You can't run to the store and be like, oh, they're running out of food, so I got to get bread during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. No, that ain't going to work. You can't do that.
Most High going to see where your faith is.
Exactly. You got to rely on, he's going to remove everything so you rely on him. The Lord said, I'm not going to fail you. Are you believing my message? We'll see. As these things are happening, we'll see. You had something?
I got something now since you said that. It made me think about
Yeah, Mark.
Yeah, Mark. Give me Mark's 6 and 36. The Lord gonna see where your faith at, cause a lot of people put their trust in pantry full of food, refrigerator good, bills paid, car note up. A lot of people, nice job. A lot of people put their faith in that. So the Lord start taking stuff away from you. Well, if everything you're moving about in the a world or a civilization that you asking the Most High to cast down, you can't expect for the same things to be sustaining you if you asking the Most High to take it away.
Don't make no sense.
you should start seeing some effects of it being taken away.
The book of St. Mark, chapter 6 and verse 36. Send them away, that they may go into the country round about, and into the villages, and buy themselves bread, for they have nothing to eat.
Mm-hmm.
He answered and said unto them, Give ye them to eat. And they said unto him, Shall we go and buy 200 penny worth of bread, and give them to eat?
Right, so this is the disciples and Christ talking. The multitude was following him, and they was hungry, and they asked the Lord, do you want us to go into the city or the country and to the market and buy food? And Christ like, nah, this how we gonna roll. This how we rolling. Read.
Verse 38. He said unto them, How many loaves have ye? Go and see. And when they knew, they say, 5 and 2 fishes.
Right, so they got 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes. Read.
And he commanded them to make all sit down by companies upon the green grass.
Upon the green grass.
Sure,
How the Lord allows us to lie in green pasture. But you gotta believe that though. The Lord putting the proof ain't on him. The proof on you. You gotta prove you believe in the Lord.
Mind you, those green pastures are within the shadow of death.
Mm-hmm. Read on.
Verse 40. And they sat down in ranks by hundreds and by 50s. And when he had taken the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, he looked up to heaven and blessed, and brake the loaves, and gave them to his disciples to set before them. And the 2 fishes divided he among them all.
Man, you dealing with the Son of God, man. This is not no regular man. You dealing with the Son of God. He don't have no limits, man. If you say that you got the Christ-like spirit in you, man, your faith, you can't have no limits, man. A lot of people put trust in job applications. A lot of people put trust in their bank account. Man, the Lord taking this stuff away from this place, man. Ain't gonna be no debit cards in the kingdom of God, man. The Lord taking this stuff away.
Should be something that's kind of leveling you out, because the stuff that he's taking away now, we not gonna have later. Should be something that's normal. This look like kingdom life.
Right. Read on.
Verse 42. And they did all eat and were filled. And they took up 12 baskets.
They what?
They took up 12 baskets.
Go up a little bit. They did all what?
And they did all eat.
And what?
And were filled.
They ate and they was full, man. You ever go to your grandma's house and she fix you something to eat? And she say, you get enough, baby? You full? Because if you wasn't, grandma go back in there and fix you some more to eat, man. The Lord took 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, man, and fed 5,000 people. Read on.
And they did all eat and were filled. And they took up 12 baskets full of the fragments.
Man, the Lord multiplied that junk so much they took up food. 12 baskets.
Full of fragments and of the fishes. And they that did eat of the loaves were about 5,000 men.
So you put your trust in what you see, or you put your trust in the Son of God? It can't be both. It can't be both, because everything you see now can be taken away from you. That's why the Lord said, blessed are those that have eyes that can see. Blessed are those that can believe without seeing, man. Your faith gonna be tried.
Yeah, he gonna put the pressure on your wills. Either you gonna make changes or that junk gonna break. And one or the other. Because we all supposed to stand there and be like, my faith, everything is on the Lord. At the end of the day, I can't provide. I never provide nothing for myself my whole life.
Right.
The Lord been doing all this, but now it's like it's in front of your face, and then he starts to show you a different level of belief. You speak it all day and think you have it, but when the Lord put the pressure on you, try you in the furnace, we're going to see if you burn up or you start coming out like gold. It's going to figure out one way or the other.
You say to the death, boy, it might be.
Yeah, it might be.
It might be.
It might be. You never know.
And it might not be by no bullet. You might starve to death.
You don't know.
You don't know.
You ain't control of your life one way or another. You ain't control of it. Nobody's preventing life and death out here. That's on the Lord. But, you always making, as we've been doing now, is making preparations for the kingdom. So don't think, having the idea of prepping is the same thing as fear. It's not the same thing. Preparation is not the same thing. It's kind of it's intelligent, using some type of wisdom.
Right.
But don't get too far over your skis and be like, dang, I got enough bullets to last me if something kick off. I got all the food in the world to last me. The Lord can take you a heart attack that night. Fool, a house full of food and somebody else kick the door and eat all that junk. Same story they give you in Luke
Right.
12. You can't trust in those things.
Mm-hmm.
We won't do it a lot, but let's finish it. Acts 5 and 29.
It's only right, man. It's only right. Raph should just come out of nowhere and hit that jump. The book of Acts, chapter 5 and verse 29. Let me see. Then Peter and the other apostles answered and said, we ought to obey God rather than men.
We always have to obey God, and the Most High is going to pressure you to see if you really are in that lane. Everybody's been talking it for a long time. We have to do self-examination. When the Lord puts pressure on you, we're going to find out who really believes. This is something, a test for all of us. You can kind of look at it and have some type of safety net in your mind, because you know the Lord can't break. That's why the rest of the nations, everything falls apart with them. The gods they believe in, it's the same thing. Eldad showed those pictures of the mosque and all the places they go to and surrounded by the rock and they praying. Everybody gone now. Everybody gone. Them gods ain't real. We got the one that is true, the only God on the earth. And we got to stand by it, because the Lord's not going to fall apart. He tells you that he's got the strength and we're going to be okay if we stick by him. We got to believe that. At the end of the day, we got to obey the Most High rather than men. All praise to the Most High. Thank y'all again, as we had the late start tonight. But thank y'all for getting on. Continue to self-examine. Everybody knows, like 2 Corinthians 13 and 5 tells you to examine yourself. You know you. You know you better than anybody else. If you struggle with something, don't play around with it. Start getting rid of it. That's the process of getting that leaven out. Physically and spiritually, get it all out. Because we don't know how much time nobody's got. The nation don't have to be delivered in 6 weeks, but you can be out of here in 6 weeks. So keep that in mind as we continue to move forward to the Passover. Be humble above all things and keep the Lord in the place that he needs to be, ruling over everything. Everything's governed by his hands. So keep that in mind, right? All praise to the Most High. Shalom, y'all. Most High in Christ bless.
Shalom.